one thing more than any other crowd that has ever assembled here, and that is called paperwork. You have filled in more forms, you've got more emails and meeting notes on your shoulders than anyone else that has ever come here. And what were you trying to get through all of that paperwork? You weren't trying to get anything special. You were trying to get a place where your kid felt safe, a place where your kid could learn, and hopefully a place where your kid could make friends. So actually, ladies and gentlemen, you've broken 2 world records today, because you are also the most reasonable group of people who have ever protested here. Yes, so give yourself a cheer for that. Give yourself a cheer for all of those forms, all of those meetings, and also for doing all of that with barely any sleep. It is pretty blimmin' impressive. So if all of us can do all of that, we can change the SEND system for the better. It just shows you what is possible. And we know that more and more people are seeing the need for change. And that includes all of the 134 members of the Disabled Children's Partnership. Yes, that is a very, very big number. All of us know that we can make the ordinary possible for disabled children. And that's because we see that happening every single day. We see it happening in the schools we run, in the nurseries we run, in the parent groups, the youth clubs, and even the adventure playgrounds. We support every single child, from children with physical disabilities to children with lifelong speech and language challenges. And that includes the children here today from Meath School, who I'd like to give a big shout out to. But the reason that is possible across all our organisations is that we train people to support every child, whether they're a teacher, a teaching assistant, early years staff or head teachers. Do you know what? I'm going to say something that may not be so popular here. I sometimes feel sorry for teachers. And I've got to say, I too have had some bad experiences, which I'm not going to discuss, let's say for legal reasons, is the simplest way. But to be honest, they just haven't been trained for the job they're doing. It's a little bit like training someone to drive a Route Master bus and then saying, oh, by the way, I've put you on the rota tomorrow for the Boeing 747, is that okay? If they cannot fly that plane, it is not 100% their fault. It's an impossible situation, and actually loads of teachers and loads of nursery staff know it's impossible. I want all those staff to know as much about SEND as all of you do today, and ideally much, much more. And in fact, again, possible unpopular opinion flag coming up, I'd like them to learn 2 more acronyms. I would like them to learn the term PDA. Any parents? So PDA stands for Pathological Demand Avoidance. It does not stand for children being naughty. And every single teacher who teaches those children needs to learn how to treat them like equals so they don't feel freaked out at school. And then the second acronym I'd like them to learn is DLD. That stands for Developmental Language Disorder. Anyone from that crowd here? So teachers and head teachers and even multi-academy trust leaders need to know that a whopping 690,000 children have developmental language disorder. That is on average 2 children in every single classroom. And that means that they struggle to understand words. Imagine going to school and not understanding what is being said almost all the time. Even your art lessons and your PE lessons are a total nightmare because the instructions are in words. Every single teacher needs to know how to flex their communication so that those children can learn too. But ladies and gentlemen, there is one acronym, just one, that I want to swipe from the education system, and that is something called SLANT. Anyone else heard of SLANT? So if you don't know what it is, and to be honest, I wish I didn't know what it was, it is a terrible, terrible zero tolerance behaviour approach. And this is what it stands for. I should say, I don't know why so many schools have signed up to this because it doesn't make any sense. And I don't know why so many government advisors think it's okay. So here is what it is. S stands for sit up. But of course, there are children with physical disabilities in our schools and they cannot do that. L is for lean forward. But as far as I know, the Romans did not do that. In fact, known for reclining during philosophical debates. And they gave us all kinds of amazing things like coins and like aqueducts and roads. So I don't think we need to ask kids to do that. A is for ask and answer questions. But if you know that 2 million children are struggling with speech and language, you know this is not a choice to ask and answer questions, it's a matter of support, not behaviour. And here we come to something N. And I'm really worried you're going to think it's April Fool's Day when I tell you this one. Just remember that it's the 15th of September as I say this. N is for nod. So we're expecting our children to sit in rows in classrooms and nod like little dog ornaments all day. What if those children disagree? I'm pretty sure that at some of the best schools in the country, at Eton, you're allowed to have a debate and engage in critical thinking. I think every kid should be able to do that. And then finally, in our SLANT acronym, possibly the worst one, in an admittedly crowded field, is T. T is for track the teacher. So, as the teacher moves to the left, all the children are meant to track them with their eyes. As they move to the right, they're meant to do the same thing. This is simply not natural human behaviour. I'm pretty sure when I was at school, I had some good ideas when I was staring at the window, out the window or up at the ceiling. We should not be forcing children to do this. And we all know there are neurodivergent children who cannot make eye contact all day. Why would we set up a system that makes them fail from the outset? So no slanting. And in fact, I would like to set a challenge to any policymaker here before they advocate that. They should try doing it themselves for a week. Try doing it at work, try doing it at the bus stop, at home and in the supermarket, and see how it makes you feel. See if in fact you get reported for stalking. Let's see what happens. And if you're an MP, I'd like them to try it just for a day in the House of Commons, because I think they might get in trouble. And only if they do that, then they can advocate for our children to do that every single day from 9 to 3. So we know that MPs over there and government in Department for Education over there are really thinking about change, and that can feel really scary. But fundamentally, I think that is a good thing, because this situation is untenable. It's untenable for children, it's untenable for families, but it's also untenable for our economy and our society. And as we talk about change, there's one thing I would urge you to remember. The British public are mostly on our side. I'm not saying that they understand the intricacies of EHCPs and SEND support and all of that, they don't. But most of the public genuinely want all kids to have a fair shot at life. They want that for disabled children too, whether it's their sons and daughters, their nieces and nephews, or their next door neighbour. Do you know my favourite fact about SEND? I know quite a lot, I've worked in this field for 10 years, but my favourite is that when children were asked what should change about school, one of their top priorities was more support for their classmates with SEND. They could have said anything. They could have said better school children. They could have said anything. So the kids know what needs to change. Let's listen to the kids. Let's create an education system that we can be proud of, where every child belongs, where every child gets the right support, and where every child can learn, because it will help them, it will help their families, but it will help everyone. Now that's the positive bit, but this is not going to be easy. There is going to be a lot of work from here on. It means that everyone here is going to have to do something. It means that every one of those